All right. It says that it's recording, so we'll keep our fingers crossed. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. I'm Shanae Jackson. I am in sunny, rainy, humid, hot Tulum, Mexico. So I apologize if you hear Macy Gray, if you hear any other dogs, cats might make an appearance. It's about to start raining right now, so I am in a covered place. But thank you so much for joining. Today we're talking about marketing in 2025, and today we have Katie Lovvorn. And say hi, Katie.
Hi, everybody. So lovely to be joining you today. I'm also
Um,
in noisy Nicaragua, and it's a little bit hot here too.
I feel like I just started sweating like crazy in this moment. But here we are. Here we are. Um, So today we're talking. Katie is the marketing guru, and my computer's decided that it doesn't want to work with me. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, sure. Well, in my life before digital marketing, I actually worked in international development, and then I sort of transitioned several years ago to marketing, and now I do a little bit of everything. So I've been in marketing for so long, and the idea behind why I've decided to shift to marketing is that I really want our entrepreneurial society to continue survive, right? So I want to help local businesses, grassroots organizations, all these great causes and family businesses to continue to be competitive. And so that's my one of my very important motivations.
And just to give you a quick note about me, so I'm Shanae Jackson. As I mentioned, I'm in Tulum, Mexico right now. And essentially, I am an operations guru. That's my goal. I like to do anything that's thinking about process systems and why do we do it and what do we need to do to keep everything nice and streamlined. And so, what to expect today is this is a conversation. Actually, Katie and I have decided that there are zero slides. We are not doing any slides whatsoever. You will not see them. We are working off of a few notes because, of course, we are prepared. But this is a conversation between both her and I, but also you. So if you have thoughts, if you have questions, like I am trying to change my view, but feel free to hop off your mute, like say like, oh, if you want to contribute, like this is a conversation. We're not preaching at you, I promise. This is not a webinar or a master class. This is like really dope business owners being dope, and we all have good thoughts and stuff. All right.
Yeah.
So, so where should we start, Katie?
Well, I think we should start. I'm sure one of the things that everybody's wondering about is AI and search and where is my business gonna be in the next 6 months or the next year, and what do we do with it, right? So, one of the things that I found, and I'm just like me, just like you as a business owner, I'm also a business owner, and I've been reading and studying and taking a look at my data and so on from all of my clients. And I think a lot of the old values still exist, right? What do we need to do? We need to add value to our conversations. We need to add value to our content. Make sure we're a little bit of everywhere, right? That doesn't mean we focus 90% of our energy on TikTok if that's not where we're getting clients, but it also doesn't mean that we don't exist, right? So maybe we're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, but we might have some places where we really need to focus our attention. Now, where does AI come into this? AI is really affecting how people search for things, just like you probably also search on AI for lots of things. If you don't, you might start soon, especially after this conversation, right? But many people are using AI search, and a lot of AI is already coming up, on the top of search. So it's affecting how some businesses show up, um, maybe how we think about when we're going to purchase something or where we're going to find services. So, what do we need to do as business owners? We need to create quality content. We need to focus on multiple platforms, and we need to be there. We need to be present. We need to understand our audience. We need to provide quality information for them. And not only for our customers, but also because we want Google or any other search engine to understand that we are authorities in this arena, right? We want them to pick up on us. We want AI at some point to pick up and even recommend our company if someone searches on AI for something similar to our services. That was kind of long.
it it's it's been interesting. So I'm a very much a jack of all trades, sort of a master of many. So I will say that. And what I've been finding really interesting, one of the places that I like to get a lot of like AI, Google search, SEO sort of information is from a website called Backlinko.
Yeah.
And it was, and if you're interested, backlink with an O at the end. So just to spell it out for you. And what I thought was really interesting, they just published an article and they email me often. They were publishing an article about like talking about, we need to be able to do both, right? Like our SE, like the classic SEO stuff that we've
Yeah.
always known is still in full operation. But then even more so claiming who we are, like the name of my business is Swantown Creative. Of course, I want to make sure I'm also claiming my name, Shanae Jackson, that, operations expert, operations guru, like how can I choose like the keywords that matter to my business
Right.
and getting them into AI, into that AI SEO, whatever, however you want to say it, and getting it to that, Google search. And then there's the AI summaries, like
Mm-hmm.
getting even better about like really trying to answer the questions that people are Googling just
Right.
sort of off the jump. And that's really, they did a cool little experiment. I'll just tell you quickly, like
Mm-hmm.
they put like a nonsensical word and defined it, and then it's even, and I say Google really specifically because in their experiment they put a nonsensical word and defined it, and then only allowed Google search engines to use their
Uh-huh.
robots
I saw that.
to crawl it. And
Uh-huh.
I was like, what? And so then when they asked like, what is this thing, Google search AI summary said the nonsensical word, I don't remember. Maybe it was like Liberty Gibbet. I don't even remember
Uh-huh.
anymore. But it actually said like, oh, that's a phrase from this website, and here's the link, and it's not mentioned anywhere else. It did say that part, but I thought it was really important for us to like, we still have to do the classic things, but we're also paying attention to like claiming what we talk about, claiming our
Right.
vocabulary in our businesses.
And a lot of even SEO professionals I've known, they say, oh, SEO is dying. Some say SEO is dying and things like that. But I think just like all marketing over time, it's not that it's dying necessarily, it's just transforming, right? Just like our jobs transform, marketing transforms, business transform, everything is going through a process of transformation. It's kind of 10 timesing it right now with AI, right? But it's
Yeah.
going through a process of transition, and we have to figure out how do we be proactive? How do we change with the times? How do we use this to our advantage? And how do we compete, right? How do we become known on AI searches and within our communities that we're targeting, right? Or working in. So, but a lot of the same things still exist, adding quality information on the technical side of your website, making sure that Google actually understands and finds everything, right? And then adding value wherever we are, no matter where we are, adding value.
So can we get into the nitty gritty of it a little bit? What does it mean to add value, to do the technical side? Like just there's a lot to it. That could be like
Yeah. Well, I
19
think
million days, but sort of on a higher
right. I think
level.
you touched on it already, right? You touched on getting to know what your audience is looking for, understanding your audience, digging into your data. So let's say if anybody here has a website, you should have Google Analytics 4, you should have Google Search Console, consider Microsoft Clarity, right? And these are all things that will help us under free tools that will basically help us understand the traffic that's going to our website. You'll use other neat tools like Answer the Public, or I'm sure, yeah.
Yoast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right, like tools that will help you to understand what people are asking for, what's trending. So you can kind of be proactive and answer those questions already, have them answered already before people even have to look for it. And then you're going to be the one that Google, you know, like as I'm talking about Google as if it's like a person, right? But Google understands that you've already answered those questions. Those are questions that people are looking for. And why did you do that? Because you already dug deep into your data, you already did your research, and you're being proactive about answering those things.
Any thoughts, Reggie, Rebecca, Amanda? Any thoughts so far? Any, like, what are you guys thinking about as we're talking about this so far?
So when you talk about AI search, are you talking about like the AI assisted answers that come up when you do like a Google search for something? Or are we talking about like searching within the AI tools themselves?
I think it's both, right? Probably the AI that comes up on search, it's much shorter. So it's going to be difficult for you to rank on there, but it's probably one and the same in a lot of ways, right? And the idea is to be on multiple platforms to answer the questions that need to be answered, to be targeting the right audience in the hopes that with certain AI searches, say, I'm not sure what your industry is, Reggie, but let's say, what industry do you work in, for example?
I do branding, so brand.
Okay, so you're marketing and branding.
Yeah,
Okay, wonderful. So let's say your location. Where's your location? Let's say I'm in Florida. Okay,
yeah.
so best branding agencies in Florida. Or what should I be looking for in a branding agency in Florida? Do you have any recommendations? Maybe someone types that into AI, right, in the
Mhm.
Florida area. So what do we want to do? We want to be proactive as agency owners to try to come up on that search. Now,
Sure,
it's going to be hard in some industries because there's so many, like us, right? There's so many branding agencies and so on, but we don't want to, what's the cost of not doing these things, right? The cost of
sure.
not doing them is, being kind of lost forever in the world of the web, right? Now, I'll give you another example. I had a client, they're a startup and they're actually in Mississippi, but they had a brand new startup, and I've been searching for similar terms to them. They're a chocolate company, and I found them on AI. They were recommended as one of the companies on AI. So we were successful in that area, but that's maybe easier to do when you're talking about a very niche audience in a niche location versus, let's say, top branding company in Phoenix, or branding companies, and we know that there's a long list, but we need to work towards that.
Okay.
I think giving yourself like the opportunity to like there's so many, like I read, I don't know, like HubSpot's blog, for
Mhm.
example, right? Like they always have like a million like articles, and I'm like, that was so good. And of course their domain authority, they rank up there to like, they're like,
Right.
always first through five, 1 through 5, right? They're crazy. And then when I look at the AI summary, they're one of the first ones that are linked, right? And I'm always kind of like, oh, like this is annoying. It's just me, right? Like it's
Yeah.
whatever's in my brain. But I think giving ourselves the opportunity to rank, and but also too, like you're providing content to survive, like to answer somebody's question, right?
Hmm.
So somebody might finally find you. That's kind of a terrible way to think about it, but they might finally find you, whether it's through your other content, through your other
Hmm.
platforms, through the other ways that you exist. And then they like, part of the reason why we create the content that we do is so that people can stick, right? So part of the reason why I post on LinkedIn is not because I'm excited to be on LinkedIn per se, but when somebody looks at my profile, they're going to have a bunch of stuff to
Right.
look at, right? The same thing for my blog, right? Like I was excited when I hit 20 blogs because I was like, that was a fight, right? But the idea being that there's an opportunity for once somebody finds me, however they do, whether that's through my email, through my regular social media, through my blogs, through my speaking opportunities, through workshops, like however they find me, that there's an opportunity for them to stick around because they want to
Right.
hear my voice.
And that's part of the personalization, right? Now, marketing has become I guess we could argue that it isn't personal in some ways, but we really want it to be personal, right? We want to target those individuals. We want to target the right audience in a way that they feel emotionally attached or, you know, attached to our information. And we're providing them with something that actually adds value to their day. You know, that's just kind of me too. It's a pet peeve. I don't want to see a bunch of information that doesn't necessarily add value, right? I think there's time for entertainment, but adding value when it comes to branding, marketing, operations, we're there to add value. Right, even
Yeah.
if it's in micro amounts, we're there to add
Yeah.
value. So adding that personalization, you know, and just like you said, LinkedIn, maybe you might, or another company may or may not have a large flow of clients coming in on a particular platform like Instagram or LinkedIn, for example, but we're present on there. Right now, we can post on multiple platforms using the same material or similar material with minor adjustments at the same time. Right, so being present on all those platforms, and that helps us in search too. If you search for your company name, you know, your LinkedIn's going to come up, your Instagram videos are going to come up, like my videos and stuff that I've created have come up there. If you
Mhm.
have a YouTube channel, it comes up. So we're present, and that's a way to personalize that information because everybody has preferences. I might like LinkedIn versus TikTok, or I might prefer YouTube Shorts versus Facebook, for example, right? And so we're personalizing that to the likes of our customers that are there for us, or our potential clients, or anyone viewing us.
Yeah, I had a marketing friend tell me one time, she's like, you don't need to be everywhere, but proof of life is okay.
Right, right. And so I agree with that. We don't need to be every single place, but it does help to have to update it every once in a while, right? Even
Yeah,
if
yeah,
Instagram isn't your main thing
yeah,
or TikTok isn't your main thing, every once in a while we need to kind of, like you said, proof of life on that platform.
yeah. Yeah, it was funny because I'm I think I have my personal Instagram page, I think has like, I don't know, maybe 200 followers, and I follow like 2,000 people.
Yeah.
But then my business page is like, I don't know. I haven't even looked at it recently, but it was funny because like I was just really what was doing was I was claiming my page, but then I was also providing an opportunity that if I had video, if I had something that I wanted to share that I could. And one of the things that has become really popular, they call it a six, like you can do a 9 grid or a 12 grid, and it's just a static, it's a stat, excuse me, a static post that's like kind of a picture-esque. If you guys are curious, like Google 9 grid, you'll find it. And it's basically like talking about you, it's talking about your business, but then you don't post anything else. And you can update that and make it a way for you to, like, if somebody decides that, hey, like they love Instagram, but you don't really hang out there, like I don't, a 9 grid's like a cool way to just kind of have something there that they can look at, or
Yeah.
12, 9 or 12 grid, sort of whatever floats your boat. And it's just a landing page. And I had another friend who was like, I don't do Facebook. And I was like, me neither. They're like, I posted essentially the equivalent of my 9 grid onto Facebook, just as a
Yeah.
way to be present, claim my username, claim my name, right? Because that's a big part of like marketing and sort of that SEO overall is
Yeah.
claim your name, right? Like, especially like I go by CJ. My name's Shanae. It's not spelled classic Shanae, whatever that is.
Hmm.
So claiming my name has become even more important and a way for me to stand out. So I was like, so my username for everything is Shanae Jackson, like if you're looking for me. And so that means that I want to claim my name in every place that I possibly
Well, you actually tied into a great point, which are the top digital trust signals, like like you're mentioning, right? Authoritative mentions, that could be your brand name, that's your personal name, or your company brand name. Uh, your reviews, we haven't mentioned that yet, but we all know that reviews is super important, right? That could be Yelp reviews, it could be Google, it could be anywhere else. So those are important. Having consistent brand info. I know sometimes we might look at our social media or our website and we're like, oh, I'm so sick of looking at that, right? I'm gonna change things up a bit. But yeah, having that consistency with the brand, like yours, Shanae, you do a really great job of this because I see you on, I'm like, oh, that's her. Those are her colors. That's her. You know, it's like I recognize the image and I see you everywhere on like LinkedIn and then your emails come in. So it's very consistent when when you're putting out that information. So that's wonderful. Like you said, verifying claims. So that was an important mention. And then we have the technical, less interesting, but still important stuff on your website, right? Like your site speed and all site security and all those things. And then one thing that that comes up a lot for trust signals is also like a strong about page. So people want to know who they're dealing with, their experience, why they should work with you versus someone else.
Like sort of on a similar note, I was actually I was before hopping on this call, I was talking to a friend of mine he's doing my website. He's been working on my website I've been working on my website for a while. I don't know about y'all.
It never ends.
Like it is the Joker that doesn't finish.
Right.
And and it was interesting. I think another trust signal is page speed, but it's also like being able to make sure that it's optimized for every type of screen, right? And so I was like, my about page has been changed and I'm so excited about it. And then I pulled it up on my mobile phone and I was like, that's not gonna work. We need to make this work. And I think that's a part of the trust. Excuse me. I think that's a part of trust as well, is like making sure that we're, you know, sitting in the right place wherever they've decided to activate, to access us.
So true. And it's so easy to miss that because even a tiny adjustment, you can throw something off on one of the other, like mobile or something. So that's
Oh
happened
my
to me. And
gosh.
I'm like driving, like, oh my gosh, I have to stop right now and fix this. So, yeah, that definitely happens. But I'd love to hear from, I think the idea about this, we've had a great conversation so far, but the idea is to really kind of deep dive. So if anybody else has any deeper questions or we're going to offer like an analysis afterwards, an audit. So if anybody has anything kind of deeper or more profound that you want to discuss, feel free to mention it or reach out afterwards.
Yeah. Here's a great place. Amanda, I saw you come off mute. What's up?
Yeah, I was going to ask the opinion from both of you guys. When I first started my business, and I'm one of those people who, once I decide on something, I'm 10 toes down, right? And so I go all out for it. So I'm on all these different platforms and webinars and et cetera, marketing wise. And something that kept coming up was, and this question comes to me because you were mentioning Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. And what kept coming up in these marketing, especially digital marketing conversations, was the peak times or best times to post on each of the platforms. So, like, for example, Facebook on Mondays, 9 a.m., and on Tuesday, blah, 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 blah. My question is, knowing what we know now, what are your thoughts on that? Would you agree with that? Is there specific times that you might get more engagement, you might get more views and whatnot than others on these different platforms? Or is that something that's just kind of like, maybe, maybe not?
I think I don't think we can, I think we can take it generally speaking, right? But there's also going to be some industry differences. So if in your industry, I'll give you an example. I was using MailChimp for a client, and it recommends that for this clientele, we had better open rates at 6 p.m. in the evening. Okay, right? So using the data. So when you're first starting out, or that could mean now if you haven't used the data before, test different things, test different times in the day, and test it for a long enough period that you could actually say, okay, I do get better open rates at this time on this day. And also there's the logic behind it. So maybe Monday morning at 8 a.m. it's not a good time, right? Because people are just coming in and they're already overwhelmed with emails. So it really does just depend on your industry, and we can help you do, or you could also search for specific times that are best to post in your industry.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Yeah.
Mhm.
One of the things that I like to do, so testing is big, right? So when I'm starting something, like for example, I want to start posting on TikTok, just as an example. So I go and I Google like best times to post on TikTok, and I get like this big list, and it's, there's stuff. But then, so I go, okay, sounds great. But then make sure that I choose a tool or something to help me actually figure out if that makes sense. So I start posting at that time, and that sounds great. And because I'm like, I don't know where to start. And then I go, okay, cool, sounds great. I do that, but then I use the tool that I like is Metricool, but there's a million of them. You can use Buffer, you can use there's a million different social media like posters for you. And like a lot of them do have like, so your people were online at this time. And that helps me start to make adjustments accordingly. So sometimes it is like choose your poison, but then measure, right? And I think that that's like the big part. Measure where you can, right? So measure whether through a tool, measure like just organically, like I saw this many likes, this many impressions, this many comments when I published at this time versus another time, right? So however is easier for you.
And it's also safe to follow the general recommendations if you want to start, right? It's going to vary a bit by industry, but generally, let's say Monday 10 to 1. So like Monday through Thursday, for example, 10 to 1, Fridays 9 to 11 a.m. Here I'm looking at a Sprout Social data right now. This is best data post on social media Wednesdays, right? And could that vary by industry? But Wednesday also makes sense. Why does Wednesday make sense for us as business owners? We like hit through Monday, we got some work done too. Like Wednesday makes sense that it's like hump day and there's a bit more time there. Worst day to post also makes sense Sundays, right? However, there might be a reason to post Sunday evening or something like that while people are winding down. I see that Reggie has his hand up.
Yes. My question was about uh content repurposing strategy, or your approach to that. Obviously, like, you want to be efficient. I think everybody believes in that, at least in theory. But you can't completely revamp every post for every platform, and most people are in multiple places. So what is your approach, that works for you, either of you, as far as repurposing, and then also engaging in comments, and sort of making, because I'm the type of person, like, if I put something out there, like, that's what that, like, the statement is what it is. It's not necessarily for a lot of like, people can comment on it, but this idea of like going back and forth in the comments with people, whether they agree or disagree, it's like I don't really have time for that. And like, I want to
You're like, I said what I said, and we're all moving
yeah,
on
like, I
now.
mean, uh the young
It's
people
not.
call it staying their own business or whatever. But like, I say what I say, and I would take a different approach, as opposed to like I'm always jumping in the comments. I realize that, like, you can use that strategy to improve reach and stuff like that, but that's just never been my thing. So anyway,
Yeah.
I want to get your take on how to do that in a way that is authentic, and not just like, well, I'm just gonna jump in the comments and like mix it up with this person because they kind of disagree with what I said or
Yeah.
went in the direction, and like, that kind of becomes its own thing, which I really don't have much interest in. But I realize the value of engaging with people that engage with your posts. But I don't know if there's anything that's worked for you as far as how you approach that. So that's it.
I agree with you, Reggie. I believe in being authentic. So I know what you're talking about. There's even LinkedIn now suggests, oh, you should interact with some people that I never interact with because there's a lot of engagement on there. I'm like, no, I don't want to.
I don't know
Right.
them.
Right. I don't know them. Feels icky. No, like, it just, so I get where you're going. And I think that probably is a strategy for a lot of companies, but it also depends on the industry. But in my personal preference, I wouldn't really do that. Now, interacting with the comments is also going to depend on your industry, right? Now, let's say one of my clients owns, like I said, a chocolate shop, like it's a retail shop. So yeah, people are always interacting, and they're people from their local community, and they're like, wow, I love this food, it's great, I love this chocolate, it's wonderful, can I order this? So you got to have more interaction, you know. Also, maybe you're working with different companies, like they're selling your products. So I'm on, man, since I'm managing their social media, I make a personal effort to go in organically. If I see, okay, this company's working with me, I'm going to go in and like their posts. I'm going to be supportive of them too. So being authentic, right? I believe, just like you, Reggie, 100% authentic, and the level of engagement between you and your comments is also going to depend on the types of comments and the type of the industry that you have, right? So if those are your clients and they've already bought from you and they're truly, engaging in a way that's positive for you, yeah, why not? And even if it's a negative review, you must engage with them in a positive way to clear that up as well.
I mean, there's so much like strategy. Like I feel
Yeah.
I feel like the word strategy has been like decimated. But unfortunately it is a strategy. So when I think about repurposing and then when I think about commenting, I'm very much like y'all. Like I said what I said. There's nothing really like, do you have questions? Like we can talk about it. But like um but what I have found is what I've been doing actually more of is engaging with other people. So
Mhm.
if you comment on my stuff, that's cool. But like all of you, except oh, Tracy, I don't know quite as well, but Reggie, I've seen your stuff online. I've liked your things, right? Rebecca and Amanda, I've seen your stuff. Katie, you and I probably talk a little bit too much on LinkedIn without having said anything. Um, oh, here's Tracy. She's coming back. But yeah, so like my commenting strategy is actually going out and commenting on others. If they're saying something interesting, or if they're saying something that I hadn't thought about, or
Yeah.
I feel like I can add to their little thing, like another marketing friend of mine, she said, can we just stop calling, like one of her clients wants to call lead magnets a resource? And I was like, why don't we just call spade a spade? And that was my comment, right? Like, and I was agreeing with her, but that was the comment, right? And so that was my strategy. That's my strategy, is to just engage as I
Be
would and
authentic.
engage as I
That's your
would,
strategy.
be Shanae, right? Like, because that's
Exactly.
and it's been interesting too, because when we think about commenting, especially, um, I had a really great conversation with just a friend of mine, and we were talking about like how on social media, especially, we're so often like thinking that we're raising our bar, like raising our flag and like talking to the wall. But what would happen in the comments if we actually treated it like talking at a coffee shop? Like, would you be weird? Like I called a spade. I said, call it a spade a spade. I would say that to her if she was sitting next to me, Kieran Tulum.
Mhm.
I would say like, oh my gosh, girly, like you're so right. We should just call it a spade a spade. Like I want you to hear my voice, even though I'm busy with my Twitter, we used to call it Twitter fingers, right? But like, even though I'm busy with my thumbs, like I still want her to hear me speak, So
Yeah.
keeping it, like we're talking
I
at a
want
coffee shop.
I wanted to address Reggie's other question because he talked about repurposing content. And I think it kind of goes back to our own website, how we get bored of it sometimes, right? And we change things. But people aren't paying that much attention to us. Like we might to our friends or people we're close to on a daily basis, right? But we need to repurpose our content. Keeping in line with our strategy. Of course, strategies change too, but we can repurpose our content. We can make it shorter. We can change it up a bit. We can change the images, repost, and of course, you don't want to post the same thing every week, right? But I would say every couple of weeks or every month, if you repurpose something, it's not a big deal, right? Or taking that same strategy that you created a blog article and now you're kind of chopping up that information and you're creating posts to align with that blog article. And then maybe in 4 months or 6 months, depending on what the content is, you repurposed it and send it with a different look out again, because not, you've got new followers, not even the followers that you have might remember it, or they might not have even seen it.
Yeah, I know that we get tired of talking about the same thing, but like
Mhm.
our followers probably didn't see it. Like, I mean, yeah, like the people who follow us, even the people who are like, you are a notification on my phone and I look for your stuff, they probably didn't see it. And so I think repurposing is useful.
Yeah.
Operationally, the way that I like to do it is I go, what do I need? Right. So the way that I choose my repurposing products is so I choose the things that I do the best and that I am most invested in. So for me, that is email, blogs, and LinkedIn. Those are my three play out the most. And that's where I create my original content. And then read long form blog. So at least 1,500 words or more. And then so what I do is I'm like, I want to sit that, I want to put that on Medium. So then what I do is I look at kind of the overall, just on a vibe is what I will use that word. You look at the vibe of the place and then what would make sense. So I want to repurpose my blogs onto these places. And so what's the vibe? Like what's necessary? So LinkedIn is very professional. It likes to give like direct education is sort of the vibe. So, okay, let me make sure that my blog fits that bill. Let me change the title. Let me change the intro paragraph. Zoop, send it to my VA. She does it miraculously. Substack is very like, it's very warm and fuzzy. Like Google this. This is what I did. I Googled it, right? Substack is a little more warm and fuzzy. Okay, so and then they like a very different they like a different type of title. Okay, cool. The intro needs to change as well. And I asked her to change it using ChatGPT. I didn't go into whole bunches of like, let me rewrite 1,900 words, right? Like, I'm not doing that. I don't have time for that. I already did it, right? So, like I said, 20 blog articles was more than enough. So really what I've done is I've really thought about like, where are my sources of truth? LinkedIn, emails, and blog. And then I go repurpose from there. Where else can these go? Where else might people be interested? And then also because we know that people don't see them a lot, every 3 to 6 months, best of what performed the best, what was your favorite, etc. Let's whip those around, change up an image, add a different title, break it up a little bit. I don't need to do 1,900 words. I can do 500 and call it a day, right? Like, how do you so for me, I guess my step would be for you would be start at what's your favorite, like where's your most original content? And it could be a few places like mine. And then where can it go accordingly?
That's helpful. Thank you.
We've talked about a lot. Like we've done like
Yeah.
40 minutes. Like, holy cow, like 40 minutes of this. Is this helpful for y'all? I just looked at the time like, jeez.
I'd love to know what industries. I know Reggie's in is a brander, but anybody else?
I mean, I'll chime in. I do operations as well, and mostly I have not been good. I've followed anything to just promote my sort of operational consulting, fractional COO type of business. And most of the work I'm getting is through word of mouth or through intros and networking. However, I came on here today to learn some more, not only for me, but also to help startups, because I mostly work with startups, usually in med tech, but I happen to be working with one that is non-medical device, but they're selling into hospitals. So there are some things, and what I'm finding interesting is that as a startup, and they're funded, which is wonderful, but there are some folks, and there was someone who's very great at marketing and the like, and worked for large companies, corporations before. And what I'm finding interesting is that some of the kind of reach outs or the ideas that she has for strategies almost feel like to me, yeah, that's when we grow up and become a large corporation, because it involves a lot of expenses, expensive tools and other types of things that I'm wondering if there's a way. And I haven't been working with this startup as long as this individual has, this marketing person has. And I get the feeling that the CFO is trying to rein some stuff in. And I'm just kind of like, well, how do I influence, or can I, there might be something else that she's used to doing the Ferrari style, a lot of big spend global, and then how can you reel it back? We don't need the Ferrari yet, and we don't have the money, or should not invest when we're just really starting out and trying to get our feet wet and out there. So any kind of thoughts behind that on what can be done? And it's a B2B, selling to hospitals directly, but of course there are individuals in hospitals that you need to sell to. So anyway.
Right. That's very interesting. I think that when we are creating a business strategy, we have to think about where we want to be, right? And we have to act as if we're already there. It's like our mindset. But then there's the piece of reality that you're mentioning. I don't have a $30,000 ads budget. You know what I mean? And that's my reality. So how do we do this as much as we can organically before we do get partially to where we want to be able to have that kind of budget? And that's going to be your network, right? Networking. That's going to be you being consistent on professional platforms like LinkedIn, reaching out, and whether that's somebody reaching out, doing the outreach for you, because you might not have time or you might not like it, which is, we don't all like everything, right? Even as a marketer, I have my personal preferences or not. And there's even some things I think, oh, I should be doing that, but I don't want to, right? So we all have that reality. So, being present, being on, I know maybe Instagram for B2B is not that great, but one thing it does show is that where people are looking for you, you're there. You have some sort of presence. It's like what we talked about earlier, having that authority, right? You're there. And especially for a startup. Now, there are businesses that have been around for 20 years and they'll probably tell you they don't care about marketing. They never needed it. But what about the rest of us who are starting new things? We do need it. We do need marketing, right? That could make or break us, because we need to have that presence there. Even if it's not every day, we need to be there, and we need to show like I always tell people, I want you to show the world what you can do, right? Show the world how amazing your product is, or show the world how amazing your service is. How do we show everyone what you can do? So there has to be some sort of presence on there,
I
some
love
sort of
it.
effort. I do a lot of organic too, right? I worked with a startup recently and there wasn't an ad budget. So we slowly created a niche target audience list, and we went through them one by one. We did email outreach, we did LinkedIn outreach, we did social media outreach, and that was the slow way to do it, but that's how we did it for that particular client, and that was all organic. So those are some ideas, and it doesn't mean you have to target thousands and thousands. You develop your short list and really focus on that short list.
I also think that like, I'm preaching to the choir, Rebecca, but remember too, like, our marketing efforts then are supposed to bring sales eventually, right? Over time.
Yeah.
And then, so if you scale it up too fast, then you're not going to be able to deliver.
Right.
Bingo. That's the other thing. We're only going to give you this much to spend on, minimal your reorder point or whatever for, and it costs money to build.
It costs,
Yeah.
I mean, so, like, so I think an organic policy that's very focused, right? That Katie was really talking about, but an organic, or maybe even there's a version of paid that
Mhm.
works for you, right? Like, I mean, I think that it depending on what they're working on and what they're trying to scale up,
Yeah.
of course. But yeah, like, but like, it doesn't make sense for you to spend $30,000 a month when you're only able to deliver to 5 or 10 people, right?
So you need to
Like,
tell your contact, let's reverse engineer this.
right.
Reverse engineer
Right
it to the
on.
starting point.
Right
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. So like
Thank you.
so if we target 1,000, then can we handle it? Can we handle 200 people coming through?
Yeah.
Right. Like, I think a lot about, that's the thing I think about, operations people. We want to be able to deliver.
Yes.
Correct.
They're the ones saying no, that it's not possible.
I mean, I have no problem saying no. Let's make sure we're very, my happy place is with no.
Yeah. I'm sorry, there's no operation for that yet.
Yeah.
Or nah, like just nah. Reggie, Amanda, Tracy, any thoughts?
Thank you.
Yeah, of
Great.
course.
Well, I'll say that Shanae, you know my horror story with one particular person who I, talked to about how do I go about getting some more clients. So my industry is financial back office services. And I would say if I had to put a percentage to it, 50% of the clients, of my current clients, are from referrals, and the other 50% are from um, me having gone out and, vended at certain events or whatnot. Um, but I got with this particular person in hopes of kind of boosting my sales in terms of clientele, right? And I call it a horror story because for me, it wasn't my personality, right? This person was like, okay, I want you out there at least 20 events a month, and at each event, get 10 bookings, and from each of those bookings, land 2 clients. And I'm like, what? Who going to 20? What? When am I going to do the actual work for the clients that I have currently? Like, when is the work going to get done if I'm at all these events? And when am I going to be able to take a shower and use the bathroom? Like the way they were putting it out there. And listen, that strategy worked for that person, and very lucrative, but that's just not me. And so I grappled with, do I really want to do that? And the answer to the question was no, which means that, going back to a word you all used earlier, being authentic, I can't show up one way, introduce myself one way, and then once I've got you on the hook and I've landed you, now you get the real Amanda, because you're gonna be like, what the heck? Who is this person, right? And so that was my reasoning for breaking ties with that person. But I say all that to say that's the marketing side of my business is my biggest, I'll call it challenge. I'll call it my biggest challenge. I am the type of person, I could market for everybody else all day long. I'll leave this call and be like, yeah, so Katie, oh, she's bringing shit, da, 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 da," and Katie will have her 10 bookings, right? Because I just talked her up so well. But when it comes to marketing myself, I struggle with that. So I've been building that muscle for a long time, um, being on platforms like LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, my website, doing these networking events, virtual and in person, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think my industry, though it's a much needed industry, regardless the size of your
Yeah.
company, um, people don't, and this is my experience. You all might, I'm happy to hear what your responses are to this, but in my experience, people, especially startups, small, even into the medium-sized businesses, don't realize the importance of having someone overseeing your payables, your 1099 process, your unclaimed property, your receivables, et cetera, et cetera. And so that particular industry is put on the back burner unless you're a large business.
Yeah,
And
or
that's where
even
I
a
find that
medium
to be a
size,
problem.
maybe. Even
Yeah.
medium sized business, right? Like small, just starting with 1 or 2 people, probably difficult. Just it's not, and it's not really because they don't think it's necessary. It's probably more like they just think it might be expensive or they just think they can't do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's
Mm-hmm.
maybe like an
Correct.
educational factor there to overcome. But I do think your services are really, really needed, right? And maybe if you don't like doing those things, 'cause I agree with you. I don't personally like doing video. I don't do videos of myself, even though I probably should do something, right? I don't like doing that. It's not like who I am necessarily. And it does feel weird kind of talking about yourself and things like that. But maybe try, baby steps, one event or like one networking event, one video. We can start with doing baby steps and see if we can get used to it, or if it if there's any results. Or maybe someone to support you with your marketing efforts as well, so that you can focus on what you do best, and someone can help promote you, just like you said you
Yeah.
like to help promote other people.
Absolutely. No, and I agree with you, and I think you're spot on. The thing is, I don't mind. I love talking to people and learning about other
Right.
people and the networking. I love that. I have a podcast, and it's because I just love learning about people, right? And what they've got going on. So it's not necessarily that part. It's I
Hmm.
don't like the feeling of being like a sleazy used car salesman when it comes to pushing my services.
Yeah,
You
but I think
know?
there's ways you can do that, and you're actually helping, you're providing value
Yeah.
without even offering your services, right? People just on normal conversations, "Hey Amanda, what do you do?" Like, "Oh, that's
Yeah.
neat." You know what I mean? Just kind of general conversation.
Yeah, and I think that's what I have to do is shift my mindset to you're not being a sleazy used car salesman.
Yeah.
Yes, you're talking about, what you do and how you do it, but you can wrap it into a nice little bow of a just general conversation about learning about each other. And I think
Right.
that's where I get stuck and I need to kind of get myself out of that.
Yeah. I
I
think we
also,
all have that to
yeah,
some extent.
I think also too, perhaps thinking about you don't necessarily need to go wide, but can you go deeper, right? So I'll
Mm.
just use myself as an example. So I said my favorite place to be are these three places: LinkedIn, emails, and blogs, right? Those are the three places I hang out. So how can I go deeper on LinkedIn? So, okay, I'll post multiple times a week. Okay, sounds great. I do the posting. All right, so how can I go deeper? Okay, well, I can comment on 10 people a day. Okay, how can I go deeper? I can launch a LinkedIn newsletter. Okay, cool. All right, how can I go deeper? I can add LinkedIn articles. Okay, cool. How can I go deeper? I can host an event that's pure. This is only advertised. This fireside chat is only advertised via LinkedIn and my email list. It's not anywhere else. It doesn't go to Eventbrite. It doesn't go, it's word of mouth, LinkedIn, and my email list, right? You
Mm.
guys are now on my email list. You will hear about it. You will hear about it every month, right?
Mm.
How can I go deeper? Right. Like, so thinking through, like, so, and these are just a series of experiments, right? So I said to myself, I committed to, for example, for this fireside chat, I said, I will do one a month every month for the year for 2025 starting in I started in February, so I have the rest of the year planned out, so please stay tuned. I think you guys will be excited. But how can I go deeper, and then what are the results that I'm looking for, right? So there's a set of metrics that I measure to see, is it worth it to me, right? So I don't do anything without saying, okay, so the goal is, and am I on track towards the goal? Is the goal is what, right? So my fireside chats, the goal was to build my email list, get more people from LinkedIn in front of me, right? Like, because it's really easy to get lost in the Twitter fingers, right? So how can I get that translation? I know a lot of you, some of you I talk to fairly frequently, right? Amanda, I talked to you last week, right? In my bonnet, right? Like, but Rebecca, I haven't talked to you since May, right? June? Reggie, I've seen you on LinkedIn and we're great, but I haven't ever been in front of you and I'm excited to do that. So I was trying to, how can I do, what do I need to do? What can I experiment with so I can make my goals work? And how can I go deeper? So thinking through like, and using that as an opportunity to expand upon like, where's your authentic point? Like, what do you like to do without having to go crazy? Like, I don't like doing video. If I do a video, it's accidental, like today, right? Like I'm recording this, therefore I'm on video, right? So I don't do video. No, you're not going to see me design an infographic. I hate doing all the like pictures and whatever. So you're not going to see that from me. It's not something that I can figure out how to experiment with and make it helpful or useful or easy. So I don't do it. So yeah. We're 3 minutes before the top of the hour, so I'm gonna have to wrap us up. Katie, any final thoughts before and make sure you tell them about the audit as well.
Oh yeah. So anybody who has a business and you might be interested in receiving an SEO audit, kind of marketing guidance, I'd love to provide you with an authentic, which seems to be our theme to our little
The word
meeting
of our
here
day.
today. Authentic. I'd love to provide an authentic audit for you and for your business. And I think, these things are great. Like we maybe not like doing videos and things like that, but they're great because we are getting to know each other a bit more. And now, oh, hey, I know Amanda does this. If I meet someone along my journey, or if I need it myself, I might recommend Amanda. I might recommend Shanae, so those are things that are important. But the audit's available. Reach out. You guys have our contact information. I'd love to provide an audit for you.
Yeah.
Yep.
So thank you guys all for coming. So next steps, because I want to make sure we have that, you're going to get an email in the next couple of hours. So that will have the link to Katie's audit. And then I also have just a quick resource on how to like think about repurposing, syndicating, use your favorite word on the content that you might need. So that is available to you. Both of us are offering it for free. So use it with good wealth and good health. So you'll get an email from me this afternoon. Tomorrow, you'll get another email that gives you the resources again, but will also give you the video. So if you want to listen to any of this, share it, whatever, you'll see the link in that tomorrow. And otherwise, you will hear from me a couple of other times outside of that. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on LinkedIn or wherever you guys like to hang out, and via email, because that's the other place you'll see me quite a lot. Yeah.
Great.
Have an amazing rest of your day, y'all.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome.
It's great meeting you.
Thank you guys.
This
Have a
was
great
great.
one.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for hosting.
Of course.
Bye.
I gotta send Tracy my information real quick. Thanks, Shanae.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Talk soon.
All right.